Everything has changed for the New York Jets as there is a completely new look to this team, and this is exactly what Jets fans have been asking for after the disaster that was last season, as Justin Fields is far from the only change that we're seeing with this New York Jets team. As we look at this roster, there is one glaring difference between this year and last year, and Jets fans should be thrilled about this. We're going to break it all down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. If you guys are part of that 62% that's not subscribed to Jets Digest, make sure to subscribe. We got daily videos like this every single day. We're having a bunch of fun on Jets Digest. You guys do not want to miss out on all that great content that we got for you. And Matt, today, it's evidently clear that, well, the New York Jets, looking at this roster now that the bulk of the offseason is really done, and now we're kind of in that waiting period when the Jets' two main focuses should be giving contract extensions to the two guys who deserve it most. But we'll talk about that another day. Right now, what we're looking at is this Jets team as a whole, and there is something completely different. Last year, O. Douglas went out there and tried to acquire so many current veterans that were going to help basically just manufacture this contending team out of nowhere, with Aaron Rodgers at the helm being the quarterback, having eventually Devontae Adams come in there, having Garrett Wilson, who, albeit young, was already very talented, and then the Jets also going out signing Tyron Smith across the years, getting Dwayne Brown as well, just a bunch of veteran players. Randall Cobb came in. The Jets were full of veterans. They were an older team. Now, Matt, we're looking at something completely different. The New York Jets have the second youngest roster in the NFL at the average age of 25. The only team below them is the Green Bay Packers. Things are much different now than they were just a year ago.
Now we saw last year with Aaron Rodgers. The New York Jets are finally not making this mistake. That stat you brought up as the second youngest roster by average age across the entire NFL is something that Jets fans should be very, very excited about. And it's something that points to the fact that the Jets are actually moving in a different direction this time, instead of just talking about moving in a different direction. One of the most important things that's happening is Woody Johnson is taking a step back and blindly allowing our GM and their new head coach, Aaron Glenn, to handle the team the way they want to handle the team. Believe it or not, an NFL head coach and an NFL GM know more about coaching and running a football team than an owner does who was born into his wealth and didn't earn it himself. Absolutely novel, crazy thing. If Woody Johnson continues to stay out of the way, this New York Jets regime will actually have a fair chance at finally making the playoffs and turning into a competent organization instead of what the New York Jets have been stuck with over the past decade and a half. It's been absolutely brutal, and Woody Johnson is by far the number one name and number one person who New York Jets fans need to blame for this. I almost said mediocrity. It's not mediocrity when you are one of the worst team in the league. Pretty much, you can't get worse than not making the playoffs once in 15 years. How is that even possible? Ask Woody Johnson. It's like being a fan of a fantasy football team where the guy drafts his team and then just doesn't care about it for the rest of the year. And every single year, it doesn't matter who that player drafts. Because he doesn't pay attention, his team always comes in last or second or third to last. You know it's going to happen, and the players don't even matter. That's why with the New York Jets, it feels like, and people say that the players don't matter, the Jets are always going to jet. It's not that the Jets are going to jet. It's Woody Johnson always does something to mess it up. You never know what Woody Johnson is going to do to mess up what is going on with the Jets. You just know for a fact that he is going to do something. And what he likes to do is bring in those older guys. We saw it with Aaron Rodgers. We also brought in Tyron Smith. We also brought in Randall Cobb. We brought on really old guys. And when you bring in the right older veterans, it can work out. It's not just because they're older doesn't make them bad or doesn't make them less valuable to the team. The problem is they brought in the wrong old players, and Woody Johnson doesn't bring in the right type of old guys. We got to be better at scouting these guys. Maybe every single NFL team has scouts that scout other NFL teams. It's not just college scouts. Those guys need to do a better job so we can pick up better veterans when they are available in free agency. New York is always going to be a flashy destination for free agents. They want to have the glamour. They want to be the person who saves the New York Jets. Woody Johnson, we got to get better at picking these veterans who we pick up.
We absolutely do, and very clearly that trade with me and Matt has not gone through in our Dynasty Fantasy Football League. That's what that was, because frankly, I don't care about fantasy football that much. That's a lie. I do care about
I was talking about
every
you,
third day.
but it's a perfect analogy for what goes on with Woody Johnson. It's absolutely perfect.
No. It makes total sense. When it comes down to me playing Dynasty Fantasy Football, I probably text Matt once a week. Wait, who's on my team?
I'm talking about normal fantasy football where every single year you can pick a completely different team and get a completely different chance to get lucky or unlucky, but it still doesn't matter because you're always going to do something to mess it up.
Well, first of all, I'm a lot better at regular fantasy. I'm not good at fantasy sports because I'm like, oh, this is really fun. This is interesting. This year I'm going to care. I'm going to try. I threw $25 in here. I want to make the money. And then I'm in week 3. I'm like 1-2. And I'm like, I got to set a lineup again? Like, because apparently I don't have those 5 minutes out of my life. In all honesty, if my phone had more storage, I had the fantasy app on my phone, I'd probably care more. But it's the life we live when you don't want to buy a new phone. And frankly, it's the same thing. It's a weirdly good analogy where, I mean, you look at Woody Johnson. He's got the reverse Midas touch as well. It's not only that he doesn't do anything right. When he steps in, he does everything wrong. It's what's happened. And so for him to allow Darren, Mougey, and Aaron Glenn to step in, that's huge. And I'm being genuinely serious here. My biggest question is why? Like, it's not like Darren Mougey is someone who's a super well-regarded GM. He's never been a GM before. It's not like Aaron Glenn is some super well-regarded, long-time Super Bowl winning head coach. These are new guys who have never been in this position before, but Woody Johnson is allowing them to actually do their jobs. To me, I'm struggling to find where this makes sense, unless when they hired the 33rd team, they told Woody, dude, you are screwing things up and nobody wants you as involved as you are. But even so, like, it's got to be weird for them, for the 33rd team who's auditing them, to essentially tell the man who's paying them, it's your fault, stop getting involved, stop doing things, even though you hired us.
There is a 0% chance that Woody Johnson doesn't know he's the problem. He has to know he's a problem. Mm-hmm. The next step for him, the right step is for him to completely step away. And instead of doing that, he keeps stepping in. Yeah, he keeps trying to fix it, which you can't really blame him for trying. If you're, if you're really bad at something, that's one thing. It's the stuff like going in the locker room with your son and your son bringing friends into the locker room. It's doing the little crazy things that no other franchise does. That's the stuff that can't happen. It's like, I think, I don't know if I was texting you earlier or someone else. In the NBA, the New Orleans Pelicans are a really bad team, and they just trade away their first-round pick for next year. And I texted somebody, and I said, I understand. So I texted you. I understand why there are some franchises that are just never good. It's not coincidence. It's not bad luck. It's their front office has no idea how to actually be a competent front office. Anybody, any small YouTube commentator can tell you that when you are a non-playoff team in the NBA, you don't trade your first-round pick away for the next year. That's how you end up in a situation like the Brooklyn Nets a couple years ago, giving away the number 3 overall pick to the Boston Celtics that became Jason Tatum.
That's how before that was Jaylen Brown.
I mean, dude, it's not a coincidence. The New York Jets are unfortunately stuck with an owner who does not do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And the only thing we can do is hope that it changes. Hope that he either sells the team or hope that he realizes that the best thing he can do for this team is absolutely nothing. He needs to step away. He needs to let football minds make the football decisions and just take his hands off the whole operation.
That's also the thing. Oftentimes with owners, when they suck at being an owner, you see this pattern of them hiring guys who aren't very good at this. Joe Douglas had his flaws, but he also made moves that at the time, they all made sense. Everything Joe Douglas did last offseason within reason did make sense. A lot of it didn't end up working, and you can't not blame Joe Douglas for that. He does deserve the blame because, I mean, it didn't work. But it's also this common thing of them just hiring the wrong people. Now, obviously, it's way too soon to say anything about Aaron Glenn or Darren Mougey. We've both said little bit questioning some of the moves Mougey made in free agency just in regards to giving the amount of money out to some certain positions, and then also specifically talking about cornerback, which could very quickly become safety. But on top of that, the lack of re-signing Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner kind of becomes this situation where we definitely question it, but at the same time, it's too early to be like, well, he's the issue. This is a problem. So it comes down to the fact, like, we also have to hope Woody got it right. And it's not a guarantee he did. The biggest thing is that we're both very pro Aaron Glenn. And Aaron Glenn had a big say in the Jets getting Darren Mougey, which makes me more confident in the Mougey thing here. But it's interesting. I am of the belief that, yeah, Woody clearly knows he's the problem here. And since he's the problem, he wants people to forgive him and he wants to get it right, which has led to panic moves by a guy who wouldn't even be good if he wasn't making panic moves.
The only thing that there is to do for him is completely step away, let the guys do their job. You obviously still go to the games and, do the ownership interviews and stuff, but he has no reason to be talking to players. Like, he doesn't have to do that. Like, when he's in the locker room yelling at Mike White, telling him he sucks, like, sure. Like, obviously, in terms of NFL quarterbacks, Mike White is not a very good NFL quarterback. That's not something you say to a player who's on your team. And it's not only what Mike White feels and thinks in that situation, it's all the other players in the locker room see that and they're like, this is the guy that we're going out and risking not only injury, but honestly, we've seen Ryan Shazier get paralyzed. You could die from any football hit. You could die. You are risking your life for this man's organization, and it's so obvious that he doesn't care about you. It's absolutely ridiculous. Woody Johnson, I would say he's easily the worst owner, but the Cincinnati Bengals owner is making a really, really good case for himself right now as the worst owner in the NFL. But Woody Johnson, all he's got to do, unlike these guys, he doesn't just do the really, really obviously blatantly horrible stuff like the Browns do, or like the guy on the Commanders did. I think they were the Redskins at the time. Yeah. Or the guy like on the Panthers. Someone bought the team for the Panthers. I think it was David Tepper. And he started making all the decisions. Like, as the GM, that he was the guy who traded away the Caleb Williams pick and DJ Moore and picked up Bryce Young. Well, I love Bryce Young, but he's not Caleb Williams.
No.
And the ownership, or not the ownership, but the other GMs and the other football minds in that room wanted CJ Stroud with the first overall pick. It didn't want Bryce Young. The owner stepped up and said, we're taking Bryce Young. Owners got to know their role as the owner, handle the financial stuff, the sponsorship stuff, the marketing stuff. You're not a football mind. Unless you're the Charlotte Hornets and you're Michael Jordan, you're not making the football decisions.
And Michael Jordan was a horrific owner.
I know that, but you can't tell me when it comes down to, do we get player A or player B? I trust Michael Jordan's opinion far more than my own.
I agree. It's like, well,
even though Michael Jordan falls up horribly, he comes up horribly short in the facets that Woody Johnson actually is a quality owner at, which is the actual ownership aspects of owning a team.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, he just he gambles with the team's future.
Well, he just likes to gamble, so that's what it was. And yeah, I think this basically goes across the board. There are exceptions here. Mark Cuban comes to mind. For the most part, when you think about great owners, what's their involvement? Their name at the bottom right hand of the checks that players get. That's the good owners. Steve Ballmer is a little heavily involved, but at the same time, he's doing everything out of love for the Clippers. It becomes this situation. But with most owners in most sports across the board, it's like, yeah, you need me to pay for this? I'm fine doing that. I'm making crazy money off being a sports team owner, so I'll happily pay this here, and I want to see this team win because not only does it look good for me and my business acumen, but also I clearly have an affinity for the team that I own. So, yeah, sure. And outside of that, sit in your nice office, hang out. If you want to be in meetings and not say anything, sure, I don't really care about that stuff. But Woody goes completely out of his way and thinks he's playing Madden here.
Yeah, and he's not good at playing Madden, so
he's quite bad at it.
Yeah, we need something to change here.
Guys, one who is good at playing Madden, everyone who's subscribed to this channel. And if you're not subscribed, it means you suck. And if you want to prove that, you can play Matt. Don't play me. I'm too good for all of you. Guys, make sure to like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. I've definitely beaten Matt at Madden before when we're actually playing the real rules and not our stupid version. Have a great day, and go Jets.